Welcome back. Simon has remembered his password to this YouTube channel and this podcast. I always say this in the podcast, but I feel like every once in a while I check like the Spotify back end. Because currently I'm working on a Creator Camp podcast for a community. And so sometimes I log in and accidentally log into my personal voice memos pod, and then I see the amount of people who are still paying attention to this, and it's just ridiculous. I don't understand it really. And I feel like most people who discover this pod um don't have no clue about what I do on YouTube, but I always think it's fun. I think it's fun to give these updates. Almost now where I feel it's most valuable is being able to have a recollection of my life in these 2-3 month segments where I can give them to my, grandkids, or my kids can later see. And so we're currently, right now I'm with Chris from Creator Camp, and we're currently in Annecy, France, Annecy. Um, and I'm looking up right now, and there are literally a bunch of paragliders because people paraglide across here all day. So you might see some folks in the background paragliding. But yeah, this is a town and big city on the border of France and Switzerland. So it's nice. It's probably my favorite part of this trip so far this summer. Um, we just got back from base camp, an event that we hosted with 30 creatives, where we rented a castle. It was insane. It was called Le Brosses in the countryside of France, and we brought around 30 creatives, half of which were from already England, the UK, Europe, and then half of which came out from the US. So that was kind of crazy. And we decided why not stay in Europe for a few weeks after, to just work, explore a bit. Um, and yeah, it's really cool because just a year ago, I had come to Europe for the first time. We had done the whole trip. If you guys have seen For the Rational Lover or the Norway video, that was all in that time frame of 2 months. And now I'm here again, and it feels kind of different. I'm not here with as much wide-eyed excitement of seeing the world per se, but more of this. It feels like I'm living here type of vibe, which is cool. Which is cool. I think it's only natural when you go to a place to feel like you could move there, try to envision yourself living there, which is great. Um, the reason why I'm making this podcast is because it's funny. This is called weekly voice memos. It's not weekly. I think it's more of when I have enough space or I feel like I have something to say that's of some sort of value, maybe to someone watching it or even to myself to just capture. I'll turn on the camera and record an episode of this. And the thing that recently happened in my life, which I believe is profound in some regard, or just deserves stamping on the timeline, is the idea of outgrowing your dreams. So recently coming back from this event, we had a journaling exercise by two of my friends, Emma and Anya, who are great creatives, artists, and they journal a lot. And we went through this. I think it's the beginning of the artist way. If you guys don't know what the artist way is, I had no clue what it was before this, but there were a lot of more artistic painters and people at this event. So I think it seems like people who are more traditional artists come across this. Um, we were joking. We're like, it's the feminine energy version of the creative act. The creative act is I don't know, it's like the dude's version of things, and then I feel like the girl's version of things is the artist way. I don't know, maybe it is. But it's essentially this exercise to help artists recovering from burnout kind of find their passion again. And the first exercise is essentially a journal exercise where you're writing down your inner critic. You're writing down things that you think of yourself as an artist, which may or may not be true, but just ways you kind of knock yourself down. And you write for a bit, and then you also write the reverse. So then maybe some things like, what you're doing is corny, and then you write, no, it's not, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I thought this was interesting because the thing that I had written, and I feel like I've kind of been shying away from this, was, in my words, I said, I feel like Unk now. I feel like the best stories that I've told or the best things I've created um, are behind me. For example, I started this journey when I was 18, 19, with the idea with Ryan and Max and this idea of the YouTube New Wave and bringing filmmaking to YouTube and making it more about emotion rather than ROI, perfect, sounds good, whatever. Sorry, I need to record this internally as well. Just did that. And that's all great, right? We went on that journey. We did that for a year or two, and my goal was to, become a YouTuber. I remember during my gap year, I had this piece of paper that I taped right next to my bed, right next to my head. So like literally, I was kind of psychotic, Loki. I was just wake up and you see this piece of paper and it says you have 1 year to close the gap, 100,000 subscribers. Like I wanted to get to that point, and then I did. And then the YouTube New Wave took off, and now you look at YouTube as its homepage. And I don't want to take full credit for this. I feel like yes, it was a novel idea that we had for the YouTube New Wave, but also I think culture was shifting in that way anyways. It was just we pointed it out first. We're like, hey, all this like unemotional business bullshit as a creative can't last that long. Like we're gonna need something else. And now everyone's creating things that are emotional, or I don't know. It feels like it is the meta to create something that is talking about creating. Like there's this whole niche of people who have been created. I remember the first sparks of it before, like the Creative Act, or maybe these YouTube channels that come up talking about Virgil Abloh, and so all of a sudden there's this whole like genre of people online that are very loud, that are almost like meta creators. They're creators, but they talk about the act of creating, which is interesting, or being an artist, quote unquote. But it's good. It's kind of the swing back from the Mr. Beast era, right? I am under the impression that we'll have another swing back where people are like, we're being too deep. I'm not sure where that'll land, but the point is, things have changed, and it was exciting, and it's great to see that. But as I'm writing this stuff down, talking to folks I shared with the entire group, I was like, that sounds kind of depressing, where I'm just like, it sounds ridiculous to say, but when I had set out on this journey, when I was like 17, 18, I'd set a list of goals. One was the YouTube New Wave, like making more meaningful stuff. One was growing on YouTube. One was building this community. And in a way, sitting here now at 22, I feel like all of those things have been done. Um, and I know that sounds cocky, whatever. It's the truth. It's kind of where I feel now. I think it also comes in tandem with I dropped out a year ago from college, and for the first time I'd noticed when I went back home last month, I was like, that anxiety of like feeling like everything's gonna fall apart tomorrow has completely disappeared now. Um, and so, point being, I feel like that understanding that these things have shifted and not acknowledging it yet had led to me kind of floating. Like if you've it's time to move on from these goals that I had before. And I think that's what I recognized. And during this event, we had people pair up and make pieces of content or create something together. The idea of the event was how do we, our whole mission as Creator Camp is how do we create a more colorful internet, more meaningful internet. And I think we do that through connecting dots and having people who would not have collaborated across different mediums collaborate and create something novel. I think there's power in that. And so that was sort of the idea of this past event, is like, how do we create pieces of work together with another person that we can be proud of? So some people did short film, some people did pictures, graphic design, 3D. I mean, it was really cool to see. And actually that last night where everyone presented everything was crazy. Like our friend Baron, who's a writer, author, and filmmaker, paired up with our friend Josue, who's cinematographer, and like they made an incredible script, and they made incredible it was like 3 days. They made this insane story. It was really cool. But one of the things that my friend Ethan and Bibi Jane made was this video that kind of outlined the idea of outgrowing your dreams. And I thought that was super powerful. And some of the messaging of like, she had the key on her for the whole time of like, I know it's very alchemist coded or whatnot, but it's like you're the one that decides when to stop following your pre-existing goals or dreams. And what I thought was interesting is feeling that in my own life and reflecting on it after this event and leaving feeling very inspired, because it's okay to outgrow your dreams. I think you just need to acknowledge it. I think the thing that people think about as well when they think about, outgrowing your dreams, is they think about, the goalpost keeps moving. Like you make $100,000, now you want to make $1 million. But I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it's more about accepting that you have to let go of those goals that you had in the past to make room for new ones. For example, like I feel like I haven't made something out I've been proud of on YouTube for the last 10 months. It's almost been a year, which is like, what? That's not a big deal. Like, who cares? But like, I had come to drop out of college and make videos, and holy crap, that is loud. I think people are ripping motorcycles in the mountain right now. But this past year has been learning how to be a professional creator. How do I make a living from this? You know, I can be all pretentious artist, but like you also gotta kind of pay rent, and I think people understand that. Where I've been compromising and kind of pulling from the well, but I haven't done enough stuff to kind of fill up that well, and I think what that leads to is feeling almost a bit insecure because yes, you should put stuff out and not sit on it for too long, but you should also always be putting stuff out that you're actually genuinely proud of. And I don't think I've made something that I was genuinely proud of on YouTube since the fall, since the For the Rational Lover video. And that's a hard truth to swallow. It's kind of embarrassing as like this guy who wanted to push more meaningful storytelling, like being like, oh, now you're just going to create content for the sake of creating content and make it a job. So that's something I was dealing with. I think all this mixed together made me realize that like the goal isn't to bring meaningful storytelling to YouTube as much anymore. Like that's already happened. That's in the past. The goal wasn't to reach 100,000. That's already happened. I need to let go of those things because if I let those things guide me in the future, then I'm just going to be going in circles because those things have already been done. Stick with me. It sounds kind of crazy, but I think that's sort of the concept that I've been thinking about. For example, I'm working on this video called It's Okay to Outgrow Your Dreams. It's kind of following this concept. And for a bit, I thought it was going to be like this, face-to-face talking and then editing it a little bit, making something I'm proud of. Like that's been done before. And now the idea is more, how can I write a script of fictional characters that I play to describe what I'm going through or what I'm feeling with outgrowing your dreams. And I think that's a pure example of like throwing everything you know and everything you sought for in the past away and coming for something new. And it's been so long since I've felt that, and it's scary. It's nerve-wracking. I haven't done this before. But it's also like so far to be able to do that and so fun to be able to release something or work on something where people might be like, oh, this is different. They might not like it, might not do well, but oh, it's different. It's been 10 months since I felt that way. And so, yeah, I think for a while I was set in this, the way I write it, and I wrote like a journal entry or an essay about this on my Notion page. It's very aggressive in tone, but I felt like it needed to be poignant. Like, it's okay to outgrow your dreams. I feel like I could sit in this comfortable, like even for the last year, I thought I'd be the YouTuber that just goes on hikes and records that and treats it like a business, treats it like a product, and maybe some videos I'd be more artistic, but there's some part of me that would be like, and this is partly ego, like, I know how to play the game, that's comfortable. What is the point in like circling around in this river of like mediocrity when the goal was to create things that push boundaries in the beginning? I guess I'm making this as a reminder to you as an artist, as a creative, as a person, as a reminder to myself that it's okay to outgrow your dreams, that you're here for a reason, that sometimes you might feel like that greatness you once had is gone or isn't there anymore, or you have no new ideas to share. I'm here to say that dig a little deeper, push yourself a little harder, do things that fill up that well, because that greatness is definitely inside of you, and being an artist is constant evolution. Because the worst thing you can do is stay in this river of mediocrity and do loops until you realize, shit, I just stayed where it was comfortable. I didn't create things that really I thought I was proud of. I just kind of faded and I turned 30, 40, 50 years old, and then, stop dwelling. And I think that's what I needed to hear from this event, is stop dwelling, and I'm feeling way more inspired now. And yeah, I think there's still so much out there, still so many more stories to tell. Even though I feel like I feel washed up, feel like, and that weird feeling, I'm like 22, freshly turned 22, and I'm feeling this way. That's the stupidest thing. It's also kind of, I will like to mention, It's not like I'm it's not like I have money to retire. Like I can't just disappear. Like I don't know. I think a lot of this conversation is very pretentious in the aspect of like who am I to say that oh, I'm just I've done everything. I can't. But you guys get what I'm saying. Anyways, that's the ramble. That's the life update. Grandkids, if you're seeing this, this is where your grandpa's at right now, in the middle of Annecy, in France, thinking about creativity. Um, it's a great place to be. So, yeah, those are just some ideas. Maybe if you're a creative, if you're a person who feels like you haven't pushed yourself in a while or made something you've been proud of in a while, like you owe it to yourself to do so. You owe it to yourself to re-evolve and change things. And yeah, that's the reminder. So appreciate it. Probably will be back in a few months. I'd also like to announce that I kind of revamped my Patreon. I created Camp Work with Patreon for the year. It's fun. It's been fun seeing people make theirs, and it's also made me like realize, oh, I could get to a place where I'm talking to a smaller audience more regularly, more frequently, and so there will be extra podcast episodes on the $4 tier. Link in the bio, link in the description. I'll be way more active on there than this, and so if you're listening to this right now, just check it out. I'll probably have a few uploads there. Just if you wanna, I don't know, if you wanna support and get more content out of that, that would be the way to do so. If you're okay with hearing one of these blabbers every 2 months, that's fine as well. Fine with me. Also reopening the $25 a month tier with the pen pals, so getting some cool postcards out here that I'll be sending out. So I guess that's kind of an announcement, right? But besides that, yeah, that's all I had to say. Let me know your thoughts. Push back against them. Say, Simon, you're being privileged, pretentious idiot. Like, let's have a comment war. I don't know. Read my essay on it. I think it's an interesting idea to dissect and think about more. And it also helped me getting feedback as I work on this longer form piece for my main channel. That's a little more experimental because I haven't fleshed out the full script yet. Never written dialogue. But I think if you guys roasted this idea a little bit, it would help me out a lot. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. And I'll catch you in a bit. Check out the Patreon. Yeah, that's it.